You couldn't give us an heir, so here's your anniversary gift, my father-in-law said with a smug grin. I opened the box, and divorce papers glared up at me. I glanced at my husband, Timothy, but he looked away. Then my mother-in-law introduced a 25-year-old woman as his new wife. I signed the papers in silence. Suddenly, my best friend, Erica, pulled an envelope from her purse. My father-in-law's face turned white as he read it. We have a special surprise for you, Amelia, Sharon said as dessert arrived at our anniversary dinner. The timing felt planned, meant to catch me off guard among trusted faces. Mason stood, silencing the room with his presence. The crystal and china I'd carefully set up now felt like props in a drama I didn't sign up for. Let me take you back to how I ended up here, surrounded by family and friends, clueless that my world was about to collapse. That morning, our second anniversary dawned with promise. I woke before sunrise, too excited to sleep. 2 years with Timothy. Tonight, we'd celebrate with everyone we loved. I slipped out of bed quietly, not wanting to wake Timothy, and tiptoed to the kitchen. Before I go on, thank you for reading stories like mine that matter to so many women. If you value honesty and respect in marriage, please subscribe to support sharing these stories. Now, let's dive into what I found next. The house felt alive in those early hours, brimming with hope. Though sunlight hadn't yet crept through the lace curtains, our wedding photos glowed faintly under the street lamp's light. There we were, captured in a moment of eternal promises, Timothy beaming as he slid the ring on my finger, my dress flowing like a dream. I touched my wedding ring while starting the coffee, twisting the warm gold band for comfort. It had molded to me over 2 years, as natural as my heartbeat. Timothy appeared as I plated his favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with maple syrup, crispy turkey bacon, and fresh orange juice I'd squeezed last night. The kitchen smelled warm and happy, filled with butter, vanilla, and coffee. Happy anniversary, I said softly, expecting his usual kiss. But he lingered in the doorway, his face blank. Yeah, he said. 2 years. His tone made me pause, but he was already buried in the newspaper. The rustle of pages built a wall between us. Timothy was often quiet in the mornings, but this felt heavier, intentional. I brushed it off as anniversary jitters. Men feel celebrations differently, I told myself. My excitement bubbled like champagne, but he might feel pressure to make tonight perfect. That afternoon, I was at Mason and Sharon's, turning their dining room into a celebration space. Sharon guided me with her usual mix of critique masked as advice. But today, her energy was different, almost electric with excitement as we arranged flowers and polished silver. You seem thrilled, I said, setting roses in her crystal vase. Oh, Amelia, Sharon said, her smile wider than ever. Tonight will be so special, a real relief. We've been waiting for this moment. Mason nodded from his armchair, watching like a commander before battle. 2 years is enough time to judge, he said with authority. Tonight, we make necessary choices. Their words felt warm, like I was finally being embraced by the family. I'd worked so hard for their approval, enduring dinners laced with sharp critiques, holidays with questions about grandchildren, and events where I felt I was auditioning for a role I thought I'd already won. The dining room became a masterpiece under our efforts, perfect for the celebration I envisioned. Roses and baby's breath scented the air. Crystal glasses sparkled, casting rainbows on the white tablecloth. The expensive china gleamed under the chandelier I'd polished for an hour. As guests arrived that evening, I felt proud of my hosting. Friends and family filled the house with laughter, their voices blending with the classical music I'd chosen. Everything seemed perfect. But as the night went on, I sensed something off, a tension I couldn't name. Guests' congratulations felt empty, their hugs lingering like farewells. Conversations hushed when I neared, and sly glances passed when they thought I wasn't looking. My Aunt Patricia pulled me aside during cocktails, gripping my hands tightly. Amelia, you look pale. Are you okay? Just excited, I said, her words making me uneasy. Nervous, maybe. She studied me with her sharp, principal's gaze. If you need anything, Amelia, call me. Her tone hinted at trouble I couldn't see, like she knew something I didn't. Before I could ask more, Timothy steered me away with a stiff smile to greet others. During cocktails, he kept his distance, avoiding our usual touches or glances. When asked about our marriage or plans, he dodged with vague answers, shifting to safe topics. He seemed braced for something unpleasant. Dinner unfolded with Sharon's demanded elegance. Each course was flawless, chosen to show refined taste. The talk flowed easily, sticking to weather and local news, avoiding anything deep. I should have been thrilled, enjoying weeks of planning paying off. Instead, I watched faces, hunting for hints of the strange vibe I felt. Everyone seemed to be acting, following a script I hadn't read. As dessert arrived, Sharon stood, poised for a big reveal. My untouched chocolate mousse sat heavy as my stomach tightened. We have a wonderful surprise for you, Amelia, she said. I knew then that this moment was planned to hit hard, set up with the people I trusted most to amplify its impact. Mason stood, scraping his chair back, and every eye at the table turned to him. Surrounded by the crystal, china, and flowers I'd painstakingly arranged, I realized I wasn't hosting this party. I was its target. The applause faded as Mason sat, but the air stayed heavy with tension. I forced a smile, my hands shaking as I reached for my water glass. Something had shifted during his speech, though I couldn't pinpoint what. The faces around the table held looks I couldn't read, part anticipation, part pity. This wasn't the first sign my marriage was in trouble. For weeks, small cracks had appeared in the foundation, ones I'd ignored instead of facing. 3 weeks ago, while sorting tax papers, I found a clue that my perfect marriage was a lie. Hidden among insurance forms and bills was a phone statement not from our plan. The letterhead was our provider, but the account number was wrong. My hands trembled as I scanned the charges, hundreds of texts and calls to an unfamiliar number. The call times painted a grim picture. Late-night talks when Timothy said he was asleep beside me. Afternoon calls during work hours when he was supposedly unreachable. Weekend texts while he sat in our living room, claiming to check work emails. Over 3 months, the contact had grown from occasional to daily, sometimes hours long. Someone was important enough to hide. That night, I waited in the kitchen, the phone bills spread out like evidence in a trial. Can you explain this? I asked, my voice steady despite my fear. Timothy's face flickered, confusion, recognition, guilt, then anger. You went through my stuff? They were in our tax papers, I said. I was organizing, not snooping. It's work, he claimed, but his voice was weak. My boss needs a separate line for projects. Confidentiality. Texting at midnight? His jaw clenched. You're paranoid, Amelia. This is why our marriage is failing. His words hit like a punch. Our marriage was failing? This was news to me, but not to him. What's failing, Timothy? Explain it. It's always about you, he snapped, his frustration boiling over. You question everything, where I go, who I talk to. It's suffocating. He grabbed his keys and stormed out. I need space. The door slammed, leaving me with the bills and the weight of his hidden secrets. 2 days later, at the grocery store, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. A young woman stared at me, her beauty making me feel plain, my hair messy, my clothes outdated. You're Amelia, she said nervously, approaching me. Do I know you? I'm Judith, she said, her hands shaky. I work with Timothy. He mentions you sometimes. He never talked about coworkers, especially not a Judith. Her unease seemed too much for a casual meeting. She kept glancing around, like she feared being caught. He mentioned your anniversary party, she said. It sounds lovely. That felt odd. Timothy barely spoke about our celebration, saying he preferred private moments. Why tell her? Nice of him to share at work, I said, watching her closely for hints. Her smile wavered. He doesn't talk about your marriage. Just personal stuff. She paused, catching herself. I should go. Nice meeting you, Amelia. She rushed off, leaving me in the produce aisle, my mind racing. What personal things was he sharing with her? The next Sunday, dinner at Mason and Sharon's revealed more about my shaky place in their family. Their subtle jabs had turned into a clear judgment of my failure. Margaret's daughter had a beautiful baby, Sharon said over her perfect roast. Grandchildren bring such joy. Her glance at my stomach stung with familiar shame. The Johnsons are expecting their second grandchild, she pressed on. The Pattersons got their third. Everyone our age enjoys successful marriages. Mason chimed in sharply. Good marriages produce children in the first year. It shows compatibility, values, fitness. I tried to change the subject, but Sharon kept pushing family legacy and bloodlines. Her words cut deep, veiled as concern. It wasn't cruelty, it was calculated. Timothy sat silent, not defending me or shifting the talk. His quiet betrayal hurt worse than their sharp words. I slipped to the bathroom, leaning against the door, crying silently as their voices carried through. They spoke of me like a broken machine they might replace. 2 years is enough time, Mason said. The issue might be deeper, Sharon replied. Timothy's voice was too soft to hear, but his tone agreed, not protested. Back at the table, they'd switched topics. The damage was done. My place in this family was temporary, judged by standards I was failing. Thursday night, as I stirred soup Timothy wouldn't eat, my mother called. Her voice held that motherly worry that cuts through defenses. Amelia, you sounded exhausted last time. Are you sleeping? Eating? I'm fine, Mom. Just busy with the anniversary. Timothy skipped Easter, and Christmas felt off. Are you two okay? Her question hung heavy. How could I admit he was a stranger now? That his family saw me as a failure? That I was uncovering lies I couldn't grasp? We're fine, I lied. Just marriage adjustments. Amelia, she said with the weight of 35 years of marriage, you can tell me anything. If you need help, a place to stay, anything. Her offer was comforting but terrifying. She saw my crumbling world. I'll visit soon, I promised, dodging her insight. I love you, honey. You deserve happiness. After she hung up, I stood in the quiet kitchen, wondering when happiness became something I had to remind myself I deserved. Now, at this anniversary dinner, with Mason ready to speak, I saw all the signs had led here. The secret calls, the coworker, his family's impatience, my mother's concern, it all built to this moment. My untouched dessert sat heavy as Mason cleared his throat with authority. My mind flashed to the doctor's visit 2 days ago, vivid yet distant, like someone else's memory. Erica had driven me to Dr. Patterson's, her excitement about answers both comforting and intense. The fertility clinic's sterile halls were lined with posters of happy moms and babies, mocking my 2 years of failure. By Thursday, Erica whispered in the waiting room, we might know what you've hoped for. The medical forms felt like a confession of my failures. How long had I been trying to conceive? 24 months. Any pregnancies, successful or not? None. Marital stress affecting conception? I stared at that question for a full minute before checking, sometimes. Dr. Patterson, a kind woman in her 50s who delivered half our town's babies, sat in her pastel-painted exam room. But the soothing colors couldn't soften the harsh truth. My body wasn't meeting marriage's basic expectation. "Tell me about your stress," Dr. Patterson said gently during the exam. "Normal, I guess. Just marriage pressures." "Are you happy, Amelia?" Her question felt like a spotlight. Erica squeezed my hand from her chair nearby, and my pause before answering said more than words could. "Yes," I finally said, my voice shaky with doubt. The blood draw felt like my last chance draining away. Each vial was a hope for my body to prove I belonged in this family. Erica's steady grip held me as my hands shook. "Results by Wednesday," Dr. Patterson said. "We'll call you." At the anniversary dinner, I wondered if those results could arrive in time to change Mason's looming announcement. Maybe good news could save my crumbling marriage. But 3 nights after the appointment, a fight with Timothy shattered my hopes. I approached him in our bedroom, clutching fertility treatment brochures, desperate to fix us. "Timothy, Dr. Patterson mentioned options we haven't tried. Treatments to help us have a baby." His reply was cold and sharp. "Maybe we're not meant to have kids, Amelia. Maybe our bodies are saying this isn't right." His words hit like blows. "What do you mean?" "Maybe this marriage was a mistake from the start. Maybe we're forcing something that doesn't work." I stared at this stranger in my husband's body, his voice empty of the man I loved. "Is there someone else?" His silence screamed guilt. Finally, he said flatly, "I'm sleeping in the guest room. We need space to think." That night changed everything. We became strangers sharing a house, pretending for others while our bond lay broken. The next Sunday, at Mason and Sharon's, I saw their true feelings. Helping Sharon with dessert felt like a performance to prove my worth, not daughterly love. In the pantry, grabbing crystal cake plates, I overheard Sharon through the thin wall. "Amelia can't fulfill marriage's basic role," she sneered to Mason. 2 years, not even a miscarriage. At her age, it should have happened. My hands froze on the dishes. "She's defective," Mason said coldly, like I was a broken product. "Timothy deserves a wife who can give him children, not excuses." Their words tore into me, judging my looks, my personality, my worth like I was on trial. Each one stripped away my confidence, leaving me hollow in that dark pantry. "We need a better wife for Timothy," Sharon said. "Younger, fertile, from a good family." When I stepped out, my hands shook, the crystal rattling. Sharon glanced up, arranging napkins perfectly. "Amelia, you look pale. Are you okay?" Her fake concern mocked me after their cruel words. This family, smiling at me over dinners, was plotting my marriage's end. Despite their betrayal, I poured myself into planning our anniversary party. It was my last chance to prove I was enough, even if I couldn't conceive. I spent hours picking perfect flowers, a menu to impress Sharon, and elegant invitations. Each choice felt like a plea to save a marriage already lost. The irony choked me. I was planning a party for a relationship that humiliated me daily. I poured time, money, and heart into celebrating a union they saw as a failure. But I clung to the planning like a lifeline, each detail proof I deserved love despite my body's betrayal. The costly linens, the chosen wines, the perfect color scheme, they were my case for being a worthy wife. Yet, deep down, I knew I was planning my own farewell. The party wasn't about our marriage anymore, it was goodbye to the life I thought we'd built. Now, as Mason readied his announcement, I saw my careful plans had set the stage for my own downfall, not a celebration. The dessert sat untouched, the weight of impossible expectations crushing me. Mason's throat-clearing echoed, and I realized everyone but me knew the script for this day. That morning, Mason arrived early with unrequested flowers and wine. His hug lasted too long, his eyes intense. "Amelia, my dear daughter-in-law," he said dramatically. Tonight will be special, unforgettable. I hope you're ready. His repeated, special, sounded like a veiled threat. Sharon was odd too, buzzing with excitement, rearranging things pointlessly in our kitchen. Wear your blue dress, Amelia, the high-necked one. Perfect for tonight. She'd never cared about my clothes before, her advice always sharp. Her kindness now felt dark, more menacing than her usual coldness. Timothy avoided me all day, blaming nerves about hosting. But his actions screamed guilt, not anxiety. He checked his watch constantly, jumped at every phone ring. Did you confirm the wine? I asked, arranging flowers. Yes. The extra chairs? Done. Are you okay, Timothy? You seem off. His eyes held pain, maybe regret. I'm fine, Amelia. Just want tonight to go well. But his behavior said he dreaded what was coming. Erica's arrival brought the first real warmth I felt all day. She burst into our house with her usual energy, but something was different. Her excitement seemed almost wild, and she gripped her purse tightly. Amelia, she said, hugging me fiercely, I'm so excited. This will be the best anniversary party ever. I stepped back, studying her flushed cheeks and sparkling eyes, full of secrets. Erica, you're practically glowing. What's up? I told you I've got the perfect gift, she said. It's going to hit at just the right moment. Life-changing, Amelia. It'll change everything. Her fingers traced an envelope in her purse, protective and careful, like it held something priceless. You're making me nervous with all this secrecy, I said, but her energy lifted me. For the first time that day, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe her surprise would ease the strange tension building since morning. Trust me, she whispered, squeezing my hands. When the time's right, this gift will show everyone how special you are. Her support grounded me, unlike Timothy's family, who made me feel like an outsider begging for approval. Erica saw me for me. As guests arrived, the party's vibe felt off, though I couldn't explain why. Family and friends came through the door with congratulations that sounded empty, their hugs feeling like goodbyes. My cousin Michael, usually loud and fun, was quiet and avoided my eyes. Congrats, Amelia. I hope tonight gives you what you deserve. His words felt more like a warning than a wish. Mrs. Henderson, our chatty neighbor, gave me stiff, overdone compliments. Amelia, you're radiant tonight, so brave, so strong. I've always admired you. Brave? Strong? Those weren't party words, they were for someone facing hardship, not celebrating. During cocktails, I noticed sly looks and hushed talks that stopped when I got close. The room buzzed with secrets everyone seemed to share but me. Aunt Patricia grabbed my hands by the fireplace, her grip urgent. Amelia, you look so pale. Are you okay? Eating enough? I'm fine, I said. Just excited. Her sharp, teacher's stare saw through me. If you need anything, call me. Promise. Why did she think I'd need help? What trouble were they all expecting that I couldn't see? Timothy's actions that night fueled my fears. He drank heavily, far more than his usual single glass of wine, hitting the bar cart repeatedly. He kept his distance, avoiding our usual touches or glances. When guests asked about our marriage or plans, he dodged with vague answers, switching to work or sports. I saw him check his watch constantly, like he was counting down to something. His talks with his father stopped when I neared, their whispers urgent, making my stomach twist. Timothy, I said quietly in the kitchen, what's wrong? You're acting like this is a funeral, not our anniversary. He looked at me, his eyes heavy with unspoken guilt. Amelia, it's not personal. You're a good person. Not personal. You're scaring me, I said. But Sharon appeared, announcing dinner, cutting him off. Now, as Mason readied his big announcement, I saw every odd glance, every hushed talk, had led to this. My dessert sat untouched, the weight of what was coming pressing down like a storm about to break. Mason's next words unleashed it. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice commanding, like a judge with a final ruling. "Tonight isn't just about Amelia and Timothy's anniversary. We're here for important family matters." A chill hit me as the room went silent, the soft music fading, leaving only my racing heartbeat. Mason pulled an envelope from his jacket with dramatic flair, holding it up like evidence in court. "Marriage has purposes," he said, staring at me coldly. "When those aren't met in time, we must make tough choices for everyone's good." My mouth went dry. My dessert fork shook as I set it down, the clink loud in the quiet room. "Amelia, my dear," Mason said, his kindness sharp as a knife. 2 years is enough to judge this marriage and make changes for the future." Timothy stood by his father, pale, staring past me, like a man spared from punishment. "Since you couldn't give us an heir," Mason said, his voice firm, "here's your anniversary gift." He handed me the envelope, his hand steady. Gasps and curious stares filled the room, like spectators at a grim show. My hands trembled as I took it, the paper heavy with meaning I was starting to grasp. A law firm's logo was stamped on it. "Open it, Amelia," Sharon said eagerly from across the table. "We can't wait to see your reaction." The envelope felt heavier in my shaking hands. Part of me wanted to leave it sealed, to hold on to my life a moment longer, but 45 pairs of eyes watched, waiting for my move. I ripped it open, my fingers numb. Inside were crisp legal papers, their letterhead making it all too real. "Petition for dissolution of marriage," I whispered. The cold legal words hid the truth. Timothy had met lawyers, filed papers, planned to leave me with the same care others used for a trip. My world spun as I read the cold legal terms, our marriage reduced to a contract, terminated because I hadn't conceived fast enough. "Timothy," I whispered, searching his face for any hint this was a cruel prank. I needed him to say it was a mistake. But he stood rigid next to his father, his silence louder than any confession. The man I'd slept beside for 2 years, whose coffee I'd brewed that morning, wouldn't even look at me as I clutched the papers spelling out his betrayal. "There's more, Amelia," Sharon chimed, her voice dripping with excitement, like she was revealing a party surprise. "Meet someone special." A young woman stepped from the dining room doorway. I knew her, Judith, the jittery coworker from the grocery store who'd known about our anniversary. Tonight, she wasn't jittery. She wore a blue silk dress that hugged her perfectly, her hair styled with polished flair. "Amelia," Sharon went on, barely hiding her delight, "this is Judith, Timothy's fiancée. They'll marry once the divorce is done." The word fiancé hit like a fist. Engaged while I was still his wife. The betrayal sank deeper. I studied Judith, noticing the pearl drop earrings, Timothy's grandmother's, promised to me. Now they dangled from my replacement's ears. "We wanted you to meet her," Mason said, his tone all business, "so there's no confusion moving forward. Judith's from a fine family and has proven she can conceive." Proven she can conceive, the words burned in my mind. Judith wasn't just his mistress, she was his upgrade, chosen for her ability to give them what I apparently couldn't. "Just sign the papers, Amelia," Timothy said, his voice tight. "I've signed already. Let's make this easy." Easy? As if ending our marriage in front of everyone we knew could be easy. As if learning my husband planned my replacement while I arranged our anniversary flowers was simple. I stared at the divorce papers, the yellow sticky note marking my signature line. Mason's pen felt like lead in my hand, heavy with the end of everything. Around the table, guests squirmed, some avoiding my eyes, others watching like this was a gripping play they couldn't look away from. "Amelia," Erica's voice sliced through the quiet. My best friend stood at the living room entrance, her face pale with rage. Don't sign. Not yet. But I was too shattered to think. The betrayal was total, orchestrated by people I thought cared about me, all in front of my world. Tears blurred the papers as I signed my name, each stroke of the pen carving my heartbreak into reality. I ended my marriage in the most humiliating way possible. The room burst into cheers for Timothy, as if my pain was their ticket to celebrate. The cheers stopped cold when Erica stepped forward. Her shock had turned to icy fury, her earlier excitement now clear. She'd been waiting for this. Since we're sharing gifts, she said, her voice sharp as a knife, I have one too. The room's mood shifted. Guests lowered their glasses, eyes flicking between curiosity and worry. Mason, smug from his victory, looked irritated. Erica, dear, Sharon cooed, her tone dripping with condescension, we've had enough excitement tonight. Oh, I think it's just beginning, Erica shot back, her smile cutting. She pulled an envelope from her purse, slow and deliberate, and walked to Mason's end of the table. The move was bold, challenging the patriarch head-on. This will interest you, Erica said, holding the envelope just out of Mason's reach. It's about your daughter-in-law. Maybe you should have checked your facts before this show. Mason's smugness cracked. What game is this? He snapped. No game, Erica said, her voice steady. Just truth, something your family seems short on. She set the envelope before him. Open it. The room froze as Mason grabbed the envelope, his hands unsteady. His confidence was crumbling. He tore it open and pulled out a single sheet. I watched his face pale, his smug grin melting into horror. What is it? Sharon demanded, her voice tight. Mason's hands shook, the paper rustling. It's a pregnancy test, he whispered. Amelia is pregnant. Silence swallowed the room, heavy and final. Guests who'd cheered now stared, horrified, as the truth sank in. Positive, Erica said clearly. Confirmed by blood test 2 days ago. Amelia's carrying your grandchild, Mason. The heir you said she'd never give you. Strength surged inside me, a fire I didn't know I had. Through tears, I found my voice, steady and clear. Congratulations, I said, locking eyes with Mason, no longer begging for his approval. You just threw away your grandchild. The room's power flipped in an instant. Mason, who'd ruled the night with smug control, now looked like a man staring down his own ruin. The divorce papers, his trophy moments ago, were now proof of his massive mistake. Amelia, he choked out, my name cracking in his throat. We didn't know. We had no idea. Surely we can. Can what? I shot back, my voice gaining strength. Undo the papers I signed in front of 45 people? Pretend this night never happened? Erase the shame you planned for your own amusement? Timothy stepped forward, hands outstretched, looking desperate and small. Amelia, please, we can fix this. The papers don't need to be filed. We can rip them up now. Fix what, Timothy? I asked, the irony so sharp it almost made me laugh. Fix our marriage you already ended? Fix your engagement to Judith, who's wearing your grandmother's earrings and eyeing our home. Judith, who'd stood by Sharon like a prize, now seemed to shrink, her earlier confidence gone. She'd helped destroy a pregnant woman's marriage and was just realizing it. This is a misunderstanding, Sharon cut in, her voice high with panic. A timing issue. We can make it right. We can what? Erica snapped, her anger blazing. Undo the legal papers? Wipe away the public shame. Turn this party back into what Amelia thought it was. Mason was begging now, his arrogance vanished. Amelia, please. We thought we were doing what was best. You thought wrong, I said flatly. You thought you could toss me aside like a broken toy and replace me. You thought you could humiliate me for fun. You thought you could ruin my life without paying a price. The signed papers' weight settled over the room. Even if I wanted to forgive, the legal barrier was real. Signatures and witnesses had sealed it. The papers are done, I said, my voice steady despite my tears. The marriage is over, and your grandchild will never know the family that discarded him before he was born. The party, once cruelly joyful, now felt like a funeral for relationships and futures that could never return. Silence stretched tight, ready to break. Around the table, 45 faces stared, some shocked, some pitying, some finally grasping what they'd seen. But I was done being their spectacle, done being their victim. Erica appeared beside me, her arm linking mine with fierce protection. Let's go, she whispered, firm but soft. Amelia, please, Timothy called as my chair scraped the floor, the sound cutting through the chaos. We can fix this. We can make it right. I faced him one last time, this man who'd shared my bed, my dreams, my mornings. His face was pale, hands reaching out too late. Fix what, Timothy? I asked, tears falling but my voice steady. Fix the papers I signed in front of everyone? Fix the shame you planned? Fix the fact you replaced me before we were even done? He had no answer. None of them did. Mason lurched to his feet, his chair crashing back. Amelia, we made a mistake. A terrible mistake. We can tear up the papers now. And then what? I demanded, my voice growing bolder. Pretend this night didn't happen. Pretend you didn't humiliate me for sport. Pretend Judith isn't wearing your mother's jewelry and planning to take my place. Sharon stepped up, her face red with desperation. Amelia, be reasonable. Families have misunderstandings. We can work this out. Think of the baby. Think of what's best for your child. Her words stopped me cold. What's best for my child, I said slowly, is never knowing the family that threw him away before he was born. With Erica by my side, I walked toward the dining room door, leaving behind the crystal, china, and flowers that once held my hopes for belonging. My steps were steady, each one pulling me from the life I'd thought I wanted. Amelia, Mason's voice broke as he called after me. You can't take our grandchild away. I stopped at the door, turning back to face the people who'd shattered my world with precision. I'm not taking your grandchild away, I said clearly. You gave him away when you handed me those papers. Their frantic voices faded as Erica and I moved through the hall, their pleas growing distant. Guests who'd come for an anniversary now witnessed a family's collapse, their murmurs mixing with Timothy and his parents' desperate protests. The cool October air hit my face like freedom as we stepped onto the porch. After the suffocating betrayal inside, the night felt clean and new. I breathed deeply, the air free of judgment and pain. Don't look back, Erica whispered, guiding me to her car. Don't let them see you waver. I kept my eyes forward, fixed on the red taillights and glowing porch lights of normal lives. As we reached the car, Timothy's voice carried across the yard. Amelia, please don't do this. But I was already sliding into Erica's car, shutting the door with a firm click that felt more final than any signature. Erica started the car and eased away from the curb, driving slowly, carefully. The engine hummed softly, a steady contrast to the chaos we'd just left behind. Streetlights flickered past like distant stars, casting fleeting shadows across the dashboard. I leaned back against the seat, the leather cool against my skin, and finally let the dam break. The sobs came unbidden, raw and unrelenting, pulling from a place deep in my chest I hadn't touched in years. It was the kind of crying that wrenches your body, leaves you gasping, as if all the pain I'd bottled up was finally spilling out in waves. 2 years of marriage, 2 years of smiling through subtle insults at family dinners, of twisting myself into knots to please people who saw me as disposable. 2 years believing Timothy and I were forging a future, only to learn he'd been scheming my exit behind closed doors. The betrayal stung fresh, like salt in an open wound. "Let it out," Erica said gently, her hand reaching over to squeeze mine, her touch warm and grounding while she kept her eyes fixed on the road ahead. "You've been holding this in too long, Amelia. It's okay to fall apart now." She was right, of course. I'd shouldered the burden of a failing marriage alone for so long, deflecting Timothy's family's barbed comments about grandchildren, ignoring the growing distance in our bed, making excuses for his late nights and secretive phone calls. I'd convinced myself it was just a rough patch, that love meant enduring. But now, releasing it all, the relief mixed with the agony, like exhaling after holding my breath underwater. Tears streamed down my face, hot and salty, blurring the passing houses into smears of light. "I can't believe they did that," Erica said, her voice trembling with barely contained fury, her grip tightening on the wheel. "That whole planned spectacle, it was beyond cruel, Amelia. Parading Judith in front of you, the earrings, the divorce papers like some twisted gift. They treated you like you were nothing, like your worth was tied to a baby you hadn't yet conceived. It's unforgivable." Through my tears, I managed to find words, my voice broken but insistent. "You saved me, Erica. Without you and that test result, without you facing them down like that," I trailed off, the memory of her standing tall against Mason replaying in my mind, her envelope turning their triumph to ashes. "You'd have found a way," she replied firmly, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "You're stronger than they ever knew, stronger than you knew yourself. You've been fighting this battle quietly for months. Tonight was just the breaking point." As we drove through our quiet suburban neighborhood, the streets familiar yet strangely new in the night, I felt something unexpected stirring alongside my grief, relief. Past houses with warm lights glowing in kitchen windows, where families probably shared simple dinners without the weight of secrets and schemes, the truth settled in. The marriage that had slowly suffocated me, with its endless expectations and unspoken judgments, was over. No more pretending at holiday gatherings, no more biting my tongue during Sharon's helpful criticisms. The constant pressure to win approval from people who'd never grant it was finished. The lie that Timothy and I were building something beautiful together could finally be laid to rest. "Where to?" Erica asked as we approached the intersection that would decide our path, left to her cozy apartment or right to the house that had once been my prison. "Home," I said without hesitation, the word feeling lighter on my tongue. Pulling into my driveway, the house looked different under the porch light's glow. Shadows danced across the front yard like old ghosts, but something fundamental had shifted inside me. This was no longer our home, filled with Timothy's absences and my silent doubts. It was mine now, a space where I'd raise my child and carve out a new beginning, free from the toxic legacy of his family. Erica helped me carry my overnight bag into the house, her presence turning what could have been an echoing emptiness into a comforting quiet. The front door clicked shut behind us, and for the first time, the silence felt peaceful rather than oppressive. As I moved through the rooms, past the living room where Timothy and I had argued in whispers, the kitchen where I'd prepared meals hoping to bridge our growing divide, I realized the space no longer felt like a shrine to a failed marriage. The walls seemed to breathe easier, the air lighter. It was the beginning of something entirely new, a canvas waiting for fresh strokes. "I should call Mom," I said, sinking onto the couch where Timothy and I had once watched mindless TV in tense silence. The familiar cushions felt different now, transformed by the knowledge that I would be the only adult making decisions about what happened within these walls, no more compromising on decor or routines to suit his whims. Erica nodded, giving my shoulder a reassuring squeeze before heading to the kitchen. "I'll make us some tea while you talk to her. Take your time." The herbal chamomile she brewed would be soothing, a small act of care in a night of upheaval. Despite the late hour, Mom answered on the second ring, her voice immediately alert with that instinctive maternal concern that never sleeps. "Amelia, sweetheart, it's nearly midnight. Is everything all right?" The simple question, laced with worry, opened a floodgate of words that I hadn't realized were pent up inside me, ready to pour out like a river breaking free. I told her everything: the mysterious phone bills I'd stumbled upon while organizing taxes, the eerie grocery store encounter with Judith who knew too much about our private life, the cruel, veiled comments at family dinners that chipped away at my self-worth, and finally, the devastating anniversary party that had culminated in divorce papers served like a gift and a pregnancy revelation that shattered their smug plans. My voice cracked as I recounted the humiliation, the cheers for Timothy while I signed away our marriage, Erica's heroic intervention with the test results. "Oh, my dear child," Mom whispered when I finished, her voice thick with emotion, a mix of sorrow and fierce protectiveness. "I knew something was wrong. I could hear it in your voice during our last few conversations, that underlying strain, but I never imagined they would treat you with such calculated cruelty, such heartless precision." Her validation felt like a balm, medicine for wounds I hadn't known how to treat on my own. For so long, I doubted myself, wondering if I was overreacting to the subtle digs, the cold shoulders. But hearing Mom echo my pain made it real, made me feel seen. "Mom, I'm pregnant," I added, the words tumbling out with a mix of joy and defiance. "The baby they said I could never give them is growing inside me right now, strong and real." The joy in her voice was immediate and uncomplicated, a burst of light in the darkness. "Amelia, that's wonderful news. Oh, my sweet girl, you're going to be a magnificent mother. That child is so lucky to have you, your kindness, your resilience. This is a blessing, a new chapter." Her enthusiasm stood in stark contrast to the conditional acceptance I'd grown accustomed to from Timothy's family, where love was doled out like rewards for meeting their rigid standards. Mom's love for her future grandchild required no performance metrics, no biological proof of worthiness. It simply existed, pure and unconditional, wrapping around me like a warm blanket. "I want to come stay with you for a while," she continued, her tone shifting to practical determination. "Help you get settled, prepare for the baby. You shouldn't have to go through this alone, not after what they've put you through." The offer was a lifeline, and for the first time in months, I felt genuinely excited about the future, a spark of anticipation cutting through the exhaustion. "I'd love that, Mom. I really would," I replied, my voice steadier now, the tears drying on my cheeks. The months that followed Mom's arrival were unlike anything I had experienced during my marriage, a complete turnaround from the tension-filled days I'd known. She showed up at my door with bags packed for an extended stay, her arms open wide, and from that moment, the house transformed. Freed from the constant stress of trying to earn approval that would never come, from Sharon's pointed glances or Mason's authoritative decrees, my body responded to pregnancy with remarkable resilience. The morning sickness eased, my energy returned, and I found myself craving simple joys like walks in the park or fresh fruit from the market. Dr. Patterson commented during each appointment about how much healthier and more relaxed I appeared, her kind eyes crinkling with genuine approval. "Whatever changes you've made in your life," she said during my 5-month checkup, reviewing my charts with a nod, "they're working beautifully. Your blood pressure is perfect, your weight gain is exactly on track, and honestly, you just look radiant, Amelia, like a weight has been lifted." I smiled, knowing she was right. The toxic cloud of my marriage had dissipated, leaving room for my body to thrive. Pregnancy became a celebration rather than a source of anxiety, a time of anticipation instead of dread. Erica organized a baby shower that filled my living room with genuine friends, women from my book club, old college pals, neighbors who'd offered quiet support during the tough times, who offered support without conditions or expectations. Laughter echoed off the walls as we unwrapped tiny onesies and soft blankets, the air scented with fresh-baked cookies and herbal tea. No one there judged me for my past, they toasted to my future, their hugs warm and sincere. Mom painted the nursery in soft yellow and green, her brushstrokes careful and loving, creating a sanctuary that felt warm and welcoming rather than pressured by expectations of producing the next generation of a particular bloodline. We chose whimsical mobiles with stars and animals, cozy rocking chairs, and shelves for storybooks. "This room is for joy," she said one afternoon, stepping back to admire her work, paint flecks in her hair. "No rules, no judgments, just love." When Timothy attempted to contact me through various channels during those months, emails, texts, even a letter slipped under the door, my lawyer made it clear that the divorce proceedings would continue as planned and that he had no legal claim to involvement in my pregnancy. The signed papers from that devastating evening had created an ironclad barrier, a legal fortress that protected both me and my child from further interference or manipulation. It was a relief to have that shield, knowing I could focus on healing without his shadow looming. Labor began on a Tuesday morning in late spring, nearly 8 months after the anniversary party that had changed everything, a crisp day with sunlight filtering through the curtains like a promise. The contractions started subtle, building like waves on a shore, and I called Erica and Mom, their voices calm and reassuring over the phone. They flanked my hospital bed, offering encouragement and support through each contraction, their hands in mine, their words a steady anchor in the storm of pain and excitement. The delivery room filled with love and anticipation, but it was love freely given rather than love conditional on performance or biological success. No scorecards, no evaluations, just pure presence. Nurses moved efficiently, monitors beeping in rhythm, but the focus was on us, this new life emerging. When my son finally arrived, his cry piercing the air like a victory shout, healthy and beautiful and perfect in every way, I felt a completeness that had never existed during my marriage, a profound sense of wholeness that filled every corner of my being. Holding him for the first time, his tiny fingers wrapping around mine, I understood that this was what unconditional love felt like, not the desperate scrambling for approval that had characterized my relationship with Timothy's family, the constant measuring up to impossible standards, but simple, pure acceptance of another human being exactly as they were, flaws and all. His eyes, wide and curious, met mine, and in that gaze, the world realigned. "He's gorgeous," Erica whispered, tears streaming down her face as she looked at the baby I had named David Erica Miller, her name woven into his as a tribute. "Absolutely perfect." The middle name honored the friendship that had saved me during my darkest hour, ensuring that my son would always carry a reminder of what true loyalty looked like, unwavering, fierce, and freely chosen. David would grow up knowing that the most important relationships in life were chosen rather than assigned by biology or marriage certificates, built on mutual respect and genuine care. The hospital room filled with flowers and gifts from people who celebrated his arrival without reservation, my mother's church friends with handmade quilts and prayers, Erica's co-workers with stuffed animals and tiny outfits, neighbors who had watched my marriage crumble from afar and now wanted to support my new beginning with cards and meals. None of them questioned his worth based on bloodlines or family heritage, no whispers about legacies or heirs. They simply welcomed a new life into the world with joy, their presence a testament to community beyond blood. Timothy and his family made no attempt to contact me after David's birth, apparently understanding that the bridge between us had been permanently burned, reduced to ashes by their own actions. The legal documents that had once represented my deepest humiliation now served as protection, a sturdy wall ensuring that my son would never be subjected to the conditional love and constant evaluation that had made my own life with them so miserable, a cycle I was determined to break. As David grew from infant to toddler, our small house became a sanctuary of laughter, chaos, and unconditional acceptance, a place where messes were part of the magic. Erica served as his honorary aunt, spoiling him with attention and gifts, bright toys that lit up his eyes, weekend outings to the park, while helping me navigate the challenges of single motherhood, from sleepless nights to first steps. My mother extended her visit indefinitely, claiming she had never been happier than when she was helping raise her grandson, her days filled with story time and finger paints. The three women who had once been excluded from Timothy's family vision of the future created something infinitely more valuable, a chosen family built on love rather than obligation, support rather than judgment, acceptance rather than performance metrics, a bond forged in resilience. Now, years later, I sit in my backyard garden watching David chase butterflies with the fearless enthusiasm of a 4-year-old who has never known rejection, his giggles mingling with the rustle of leaves. His laughter fills the air as he discovers new flowers and interesting insects, tiny hands reaching out in wonder, his world expanding with each day in an environment where curiosity is celebrated rather than controlled or critiqued. The pain of betrayal has faded into something unexpected: gratitude, a quiet acknowledgement that the storm had cleared the path for this sunshine. Timothy and his family's cruelty had inadvertently given me the greatest gift possible, a silver lining in the darkest cloud. They had forced me to discover my own strength, to build a support system based on genuine care rather than biological obligation, to raise my child without the toxic pressures that had nearly destroyed my own sense of worth, the endless cycle of proving myself. David knows nothing of the grandparents who rejected him before birth, no shadows from that past. He knows only the love of his mother, his chosen grandmother who reads him stories every night with animated voices and cuddles, and his honorary aunt who brings him new books and toys with delightful regularity, her visits like holidays. His foundation is built on acceptance rather than conditions, celebration rather than evaluation, a life where he's valued for who he is, not what he achieves. The revenge I achieved was not calculated or vindictive, no schemes or payback plots. It was simply the natural consequence of living well, of choosing love over obligation, of raising a child who would never question his worth based on other people's approval or outdated legacies. Timothy's family had wanted an heir to carry on their legacy, a continuation of their rigid world. Instead, they had created the beginning of mine, a legacy built on kindness, acceptance, and the radical idea that love should never require conditions or tests. Watching David play in our garden, his small feet pattering across the grass, I realized that their cruelty had set me free to become the person I was always meant to be, unburdened and alive. The best revenge, as it turned out, was simply living well, thriving in the light they'd tried to snuff out. If this story of ultimate justice had you captivated from start to finish, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Erica stepped forward with that pregnancy test, completely turning the tables on Mason and his cruel family. What was your favorite moment from Amelia's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't miss more powerful stories of resilience and triumph. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.